Canvas has a framework, so it's just basically a way to organize all of the paths in a way that they understand. So we are housed right here in the media technology. You can see the graphic design right up there. And inside that graphic design pathway, to get there, you have to be high skill, high wage, and high demand. We are in more than one pathway. So graphic design also is in the web and digital communications pathway. And this is a pathway that Ethan and a few of the other kids have been really interested in. And they oftentimes tell me that they don't know why we don't teach an animation class. So I highlighted that right there. I actually got a transfer student this semester, and they had come from an animation class, and we didn't have one, so they put them in my Principles of Illustration class. This is marketing, and again, we show up in marketing. That high demand means that there has to be a shortage of that field in a career. It also has to have training outside of just your normal high school degree. Then it also has to have high skill, so it has to have that specialized training. We also show up in the digital media pathway, and so does the photography. So photo shows up in that one as well. The marketing pathway is another one where we show up, and advanced skill set is another thing you need to be, and you have to also have recognized validation of skill attainment. So here we are on our actual graphic design pathway. So years ago, Mr. Loy and I and Mr. Bowman, I think it was, sat down, and Miss Wheeler, and we decided what this was going to look like. We have never sat down in that kind of in-depth conversation since. But this is what we decided, is that we would have the Intro to Drawing class, Principles of Illustration, Photo 1, Graphic 1, Graphic 2, 3, and Advanced Graphic Design, or Graphic 4. So this is Ethan.
So this is one of the first projects we did in Drawing 1. And we drew from life. There was a very emphasized that we had to draw from what we were seeing and kind of put it together. We emphasized drawing different shapes. So, for instance, the back of the hand was more of a square as it kind of went up, and each of the individual fingers are like square. And so there was some bit of sighting, which is, if you can see the depth to the book is that type of thing. Contours. Outlines. Yes, sorry. So you have to outline the shape, because in real life, human beings don't actually have outlines themselves, but to put it on paper, we have to outline it. And then for proportions, to make sure everything is evenly spaced together and everything looks right, as it's big. This hand is big and this finger is smaller, type thing.
Those kind of things were a focus all throughout the Intro to Drawing class. Sighting is a unit of measurement. So I don't think kids sometimes realize how much math there is in a drawing class. Ethan was one of my COVID students, so I asked him if he had any of his other Intro to Drawing things, and he was like, remember, that was the COVID year. So Electra was going to be here tonight and couldn't make it. This is a hallway drawing from the intro class as well. They go on to do shape, value, and form, and all throughout we're drawing from life. We also try to draw things like the animals in foreshortening, and I really, really emphasize how if you can draw an animal foreshortened, you can draw people. It's all of the same kind of things. And line of symmetry is one of the things I did with my sixth graders, and I do it all the time with my high school kids, because if anything that's symmetrical, if you can remember that line of symmetry, if you got one side, you can always just trace it and flip it over and do the other side. So another one of Ethan's. I might not have to get so far away.
So this is something I did in Drawing 2, and I think this is one of my more favorite things I did in Drawing 2. It was a scratch board, and so it was two sheets of paper, and you had to scratch into it into the black piece of paper to get into the white and kind of create value there. I really like this piece particularly because we haven't done, up until this point, I hadn't really done a different medium like this. We really did pencil stuff. We were really only doing pencil stuff before this. And so to kind of like explore different mediums and like see different ways of making art was really impactful to me because I really liked just like seeing that there's more to it than just sketching and there's more available within the field of just art.
So I threw a couple drawing two things in here, because if kids want to go into animation or principles of illustration, I really think it's important for them to take as much drawing as they can get. I always tell them about one of my former students that he went into package design and he would post 500 reams of just drawing squares and cubes and forms so that he can draw them without even thinking, and then he can make book bags and binoculars. So this is another Drawing 2 project where they're drawing from life as well. So that Principles of Illustration class, this was a new project that I did this year, and we looked at collage illustrators. And then they collaged, and then they took it into Procreate and added text. I was really proud of them and plan to do it again. This is always a very favorite assignment. The kids see it and they like, what class do they do that in? And that's the character game design, where they have to come up with their own original character and draw them from the front, side, and back. And then they have to show 3 facial expressions, and then they have to have a prop. And then their aspire to do is to show their character with their prop, so actually using it. So we have had a lot of turnover in the photo class, but Isabella has taken quite a few classes with Mr. Thomas last year. And so these were a couple of the assignments. They really emphasized the elements of design and composition and rule of thirds, operating the SLR cameras. He had an assignment that they did kind of like product photography, which I thought was really nice that they were thinking about graphic design in the photo class. And then they also had a famous artwork. So this is Electra, and she also had Mr. Thomas for photo 1, and they did do a little bit of darkroom still with Mr. Thomas. I don't think they have with Mr. Williams this year, but Electra also took Intro to Graphic Design or Graphic Design 1, and this is their self-portrait collage that we do in Adobe Photoshop. So Ethan here with his making faces.
So for this assignment, we were tasked with making a complete face out of just what was on the keyboard. And so we had to particularly go in depth with the type tool to do this. Because there was a lot of warping of the elements to make it kind of fit together. And it was a great introduction into Illustrator because of like how getting into the tools worked and learning all the hotkeys and making sure that you could like quickly get to what you needed to get to when you needed to get to it. Example for this one, I used a hotkey for copy paste like a lot because there was like long thin lines are very important, and so I used a bracket key and kind of warped it in many different ways to fit into the line thing. To make the lines of the face and the arm.
They go after they've learned quite a bit about just working with the tools in Illustrator. Then they draw out of a hat and get a company, and they have to do first a logo design. And so these were Chelsea's logos. Once they get feedback from their client, me, which this is the first time they get a lot of, you need to fix this, you need to change this, I didn't want that color. And then they go on and do their stationery. So Ethan, again, they do a menu design.
And so for this, we have to make a campaign of a restaurant. And so the first assignment part of this was the menu, and we had to like think of an idea for a restaurant and come up with what would be on the menu and how would we price it and stuff. And then after that, we had to make a full media campaign where we make like a T-shirt and a sweatshirt and cups and hats and stuff. And so a lot of it was incorporating the logo into many different elements that you didn't necessarily originally intend for it. We had to work with templates for the shirts and sweatshirt, and cup and hat and stuff, because we had to put the logo onto those templates, and it was the first time we had worked with something pre-put into Illustrator like that. We had to make sure that all the things were consistent with each other, and we didn't kind of step too far out of bounds. So, for instance, on the menu, I had the red outline, and so I kept that throughout the whole of the design. And we had to make sure that it looked good, because if we were to actually be making this for a company, we want to sell it, and we want to make sure that people would want to invest in for instance, the shirt.
Don't go anywhere.
And then, so this is for graphic design too. We had to make a poster for a club that we drew out of a hat, and so I got math club. And so for this, I talked to Miss Bailey, and we kind of conversed about, okay, well, what is math club? What do I need to put on here? What do I want to let people know about math club? And so a lot of it was trying to think about who I was making the poster for. And so I was trying to think how to convey that math was cool to high school students, because I know there's a lot of people who necessarily wouldn't consider math, or like would be shy about it. And so I tried to incorporate some more graphic elements to do that. And then it was a lot of working back and forth with Miss Bailey to make sure that I was getting everything that she wanted into it as well. And this is the next project that we did, which is a T-shirt design. So there was a T-shirt contest in the school where students could submit applications or submit T-shirt idea, and one could be chosen. I don't know exactly how that went, but so I wanted to I again wanted to target the audience of high school students, and I really liked how varied this was compared to the last one, and how I got to actually put my full elements into the back of the shirt. Yes, so that is the hex code for the color of red that I used. So in Illustrator, there's specific codes that go to a specific color, and so that is the specific color that I use, because there's many different shades of red, and so that's like the specific shade of red.
So on that same, you'll notice on I always have them do their hex codes, because if you're going to give something to a client and they want to use that color on a bag or something like that, they need to know what the actual number that goes to it is. Same with they have to always say what the fonts are. So this was another one of Electra's from Graphic Design 2 as well. I have not taught Graphic 3 since pre-COVID, so I didn't pull any things out from there. This young lady is one of our completers, so they went all the way through and took enough classes, including the advanced graphic design class, and she wrote a little testimonial there. I will not read that all to you. This is my advisor team. And so twice a year, I contact all these people. During COVID, we did it via the internet, and they've kind of liked that because they can just talk to me from their offices. So that's what we've been doing ever since. Some of them have been with me a long time, which is really nice. When Ethan was working with me on this and Electra, two of the things that they both said to me was, no one's ever talked to me about these kind of things. And so my creative brain that has to throw stuff out came up with this idea that I just thought I'd share, and that's maybe having an 8th grade pathway spotlight. And so you could have the teacher, one of the teachers from that pathway, and somebody from their committee members, so somebody that's in industry, go down and either do it after school or during the school day. And it wouldn't really be a career fair, but it would talk to them about careers that include a pathway. And so you could just have them sign up for 3 and then just do little quick snapshots where it's 10 to 15-minute presentations, and they could get something on every one of our 16 pathways. So, questions?
When you do the hex codes for the various colors, do you associate them with the band cones as well?
I will talk to them about how they can change their things to find different codes, but most commonly it's the hex codes. We talk some about like Coca-Cola. No one else can sell Coke and use that particular hex code. So we talk about those kind of things, but yeah.
K-State purple, 4-H green.
Yeah. The Harley-Davidson motorcycle engine sound, so you can even copyright sound. So it's pretty phenomenal. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ethan, nice job.
You did great, and your passion comes across, and it's very exciting to see that your teacher's doing such a great job with all the students and that you're very passionate about it, so great job.